Part 1. The throne room of Velthos Prime stretched high above the gathered court. Crystal pillars reached toward a ceiling that showed the stars beyond. Empress Harin sat on her throne, watching the proceedings with eyes that had seen 800 years pass. Nothing surprised her anymore. Nothing interested her. She could read the thoughts of everyone in the room. She knew their fears, their ambitions, their secrets. Being all-powerful meant being utterly alone. The doors opened. Guards dragged in a prisoner. Harin barely glanced up. Another criminal for judgment. Another mind to read and sentence to pass. The routine bored her. "Your Majesty," Commander Jiwoo announced. "We caught this human stealing resources from Mars. The planet belongs to the Empire. He broke our laws." Harin looked at the prisoner properly now. A human. She had not seen one in decades. They were a weak species from a small blue planet. They had no telepathy, no special powers, no long lives. Most lived and died in less than a century. The Empire barely noticed them. The human stood between the guards. He was tall for his kind, with dark hair and strong features. His clothes were torn and dirty from imprisonment. But he did not bow. He looked straight at her. "What is your name?" Harin asked. "Taehyun," the human said. His voice was steady. No fear. Harin reached out with her mind. She would read his thoughts and know everything about him. She would see his guilt, his regrets, his nothing. Harin sat forward. She tried again. Still nothing. His mind was closed to her. Not blocked by technology. Not shielded by training. Simply closed. Naturally closed. In 800 years this had never happened. "Interesting," she said softly. Lady Sujin, her chief advisor, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, the punishment for theft is death or slavery. Shall I prepare the execution?" "No," Harin said. She could not stop staring at Taehyun. "Tell me, human, why did you come to Mars?" Taehyun met her gaze. "My people need resources. We are growing. We need room to expand. Mars seemed empty. It belongs to us. You do not use it. You claimed it centuries ago and forgot about it. Meanwhile, my people struggle and die because we have nowhere to grow." The court gasped. No one spoke to the Empress this way. Commander Jiwoo stepped forward, hand on his weapon. Harin raised a hand. "Wait," she leaned back. "You dare challenge me?" "I speak truth," Taehyun said. "If that is a challenge, then yes. Your empire is vast. You have 12 star systems.
My people have one small planet.
We ask for nothing but a chance to survive. But you hoard everything and call us thieves for trying to live." Harin felt something strange. An emotion she had not experienced in a very long time. Curiosity. This human was either very brave or very foolish. She could not read his mind to know which. She had to actually listen to his words and watch his face. She had to try to understand him the way humans understood each other. It was uncomfortable and fascinating, Your Majesty, Sujin said quietly. "He insults you and the Empire. He must be punished." "Perhaps," Harin said. She stood. The court fell silent. "But I find him interesting. I wish to study this anomaly, this human whose mind I cannot read." She walked down the steps from her throne. She stopped in front of Taehyun. "I have decided. You will not die. You will not become a slave." Relief showed on Taehyun's face for just a moment. Then Harin continued. "Instead, you will marry me." The throne room erupted. Voices rose in shock and anger. Commander Jiwoo looked like he might attack Taehyun right there. Lady Sujin went pale. Taehyun himself stared at her. For the first time he looked truly shocked. "What?" he managed to say. "You heard me. You will become my consort, my husband." Harin smiled slightly. "Consider it an honor, or consider it a life sentence. Either way, you belong to me now, Your Majesty." Jiwoo pushed forward. "This is madness." "He is human! They are barely civilized." "You cannot—" "I can do whatever I wish," Harin said coldly. "I am the Empress. My word is law." Sujin tried a different approach. "My Empress, please think carefully. The royal bloodline has remained pure for millennia. To mix it with a human, the nobles will revolt. The people will—" "Let them try," Harin said. "I have crushed revolts before. I will do so again if needed." She turned back to Taehyun. "Well, do you accept? Or shall I execute you instead?" Taehyun's jaw tightened. Harin watched him think. She wished desperately that she could read his thoughts. What was he feeling? Fear? Anger? Hope? "If I marry you," Taehyun said slowly, "what happens to my people? To Earth?" Clever, Harin thought. Even facing death or marriage to an alien empress, he thought of others first. That depends, Harin said. Prove yourself useful to me and perhaps I will be generous to your world. Disappoint me and I will forget Earth exists. Taehyun was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. I accept, but I have one condition. The audacity shocked everyone. A prisoner making conditions? Impossible, Harin laughed. Actually laughed. You are either the bravest human alive or the most foolish. Very well. State your condition. I will never kneel to you, Taehyun said. I will stand beside you. But I will not bow. Not to you. Not to anyone. The court exploded with outrage. Jiwoo drew his weapon. Kill him now! He insults. Stop! Harin's voice cut through the noise. She stared at Taehyun. This man, this human, dared to bargain with her. Dared to set terms. Anyone else would have begged for mercy. He demanded respect. She should kill him. She should make an example of him. But that would be predictable. That would be boring. And Harin had been bored for far too long. Agreed, she said. Gasps filled the throne room. Sujin looked like she might faint. Jiwoo's face turned purple with rage. Harin smiled at Taehyun. You will stand beside me. You will not kneel. Let the Empire see what happens when someone refuses to bow to their empress. Let them see if I break you, or if you change me. She turned to her court. Prepare for a wedding. 7 days from now I will take this human as my consort. Anyone who objects may challenge me directly. She looked at Jiwoo. Well, do you challenge your empress? Jiwoo bowed stiffly. His thoughts were loud with rage even if his words were controlled. Harin could read his mind easily. He was planning something, plotting. But that was a problem for later. Right now, she had a mystery to solve. This human named Taehyun could resist her telepathy. No technology did that. No training did that, so how? She looked at him again. He stood straight, meeting her eyes. Not cowering, not gloating, just present. Real. Unknown. For the first time in centuries, Harin felt something like excitement. This human might bore her after a while, or he might prove to be the most interesting thing that had happened to her in 800 years. Either way, life had just become less predictable. And Harin realized she had missed unpredictability more than she knew. Guards took Taehyun away to prepare him for his new role. As he left, he glanced back at her once. His expression was unreadable. Harin tried again to enter his mind. Again she failed. She smiled. This will be interesting, she whispered to herself. The game had begun. Harin made another decision. If she was going to trust Taehyun completely, she would give him something no other prisoner had ever received. A chance to speak with his family. She set up a communication link to Earth. When Taehyun arrived in the communications room, she simply said, I have a gift for you. The screen activated. A woman appeared. She was in her late 20s with the same dark eyes as Taehyun. When she saw him, her hand went to her mouth. Da-Yun, Taehyun whispered. Brother. Her voice broke. They said you were dead. We had a funeral. I thought I am alive. I am. It is complicated. I heard the reports. You married their empress? Is that true? Yes, it is not what you think. I had no choice at first. But now, things have changed. Harin watched them talk. She saw the love between them. The relief. The pain of separation. She understood now what her actions had cost. Not just one man. An entire family. An entire world, Daeun's expression hardened. Taehyun, you need to know something. Earth has changed. Your capture was the final push we needed. We are developing our own FTL technology. We are building defenses. We will not be victims anymore. I know. I saw the reports. I am proud of you, are you? Even though it means we will fight the Empire? Your wife's empire? Taehyun was quiet. Then he said, I am proud that Earth is standing up for itself. What that means for me, I do not know yet. But humanity deserves to be free. That has not changed. Daeun smiled sadly. I miss you, but I understand. Do what you must. Just remember where you come from. They talked for another hour. About their parents who had died years ago. About friends. About memories. Finally, they said goodbye. The screen went dark. Taehyun sat in silence. Harin sat beside him. Thank you, he said finally. Thank you. I should have done it sooner. I am sorry for the pain I caused you. And your sister. And your world. Taehyun looked at her. Really looked at her. Not at the Empress. At Harin. You are changing, he said. When we met, you saw me as a thing. Now you see me as a person. That is growth. What happens now? Earth will challenge the Empire eventually. Your sister made that clear. When that day comes, where will you stand? I do not know. I want Earth to be free. But I also care about what happens here, to you, to the changes we have started. Before Harin could respond, alarms screamed through the palace. Red lights flashed. Lady Sujin burst through the door. Your Majesty, Commander Jiwoo has seized control of the Imperial fleet. He is surrounding the palace. He demands you surrender. Harin stood. Her face showed no fear. Only cold anger, finally. He makes his move. How many ships? 40 warships. Plus ground forces. They are landing now. The Royal Guard is holding them at the perimeter, but they are outnumbered 5-1. Can we escape? Not without a fight. They control the sky. But there are emergency tunnels. We could evacuate you. No, I will not run from a traitor. Harin turned to Taehyun. This is my fight. You should hide. If Jiwoo captures you, he will kill you. I have a better idea, Taehyun said. His eyes were sharp, calculating. How dependent are Jiwoo's forces on their technology? Harin frowned. Completely. Why? Because technology can be disrupted. Your people rely on advanced systems, telepathic networks, coordinated shields, energy weapons. All of it runs on power and communication networks. What happens if those networks fail? Sujin stared at him. That would be chaos. Our forces would be crippled too. Yes, but who is better trained in basic combat without technology? The Royal Guard or the fleet? Harin understood immediately. The Guard. They train in traditional combat. Jiwoo's forces rely on technology. Exactly. If we can shut down the technology in this sector, we level the field. Your Guard will have the advantage, but how? The palace reactor is shielded. Even if we accessed it, deliberately causing a pulse would require someone who understands human engineering principles. Someone who thinks about what happens when systems fail. Taehyun smiled grimly. Let me see the reactor specifications. They worked quickly. Taehyun studied the reactor systems. He saw what Velthuran engineers never considered. They built systems that never failed. Taehyun needed to make one fail in exactly the right way. He calculated. He planned. He showed Harin what needed to be done. It is risky, he admitted. If I miscalculate, we could destroy the palace, or kill everyone in the sector, or just accomplish nothing. But if you are right, we win. Yes, Harin made her decision. Do it, I trust you. Those words meant more than any order, more than any law. She was trusting him completely. With her life, with her empire, they descended to the reactor chamber. The Guard held the upper levels, fighting desperately. Explosions shook the palace. Jiwoo's forces were advancing. The reactor was a massive sphere of energy contained by fields of force. Taehyun began making modifications, rerouting power, adjusting field harmonics, creating an intentional instability. Harin stood guard at the entrance. She heard footsteps. Jiwoo himself appeared, flanked by soldiers. Harin, he said, not your Majesty, just her name. It is over. Surrender now. I will be merciful. You dare attack your Empress. There is no mercy for traitors. I am saving the Empire from you, from your weakness. You have been corrupted by that human. He has made you forget what we are, what we stand for. He has reminded me what we could be. We have been stagnant, arrogant, complacent. Taehyun showed me that strength comes in many forms. Enough talking. Jiwoo raised his weapon. Move aside or die. Harin prepared to fight, but behind her Taehyun shouted, now! Get down! Harin dropped. The reactor pulsed. A wave of energy exploded outward. Not heater force, but pure electromagnetic disruption. Every advanced system in a kilometer radius shut down instantly. Lights died. Weapons stopped working. Communication systems failed. Even the telepathic amplifiers that coordinated troop movements went silent. In the sudden darkness, Harin moved. She had lived 800 years. She knew how to fight without technology. Jiwoo and his soldiers did not. They fumbled in the dark, confused. Harin struck fast. She disarmed Jiwoo. She knocked his soldiers unconscious. Above, the Royal Guard pressed their advantage. Without their technological superiority, the fleet forces surrendered quickly. Emergency lights came on. Harin stood over Jiwoo. He lay on the ground defeated. How? He gasped. You relied on technology. We took it away. A human tactic, simple, effective. Taehyun emerged from the reactor room. He looked exhausted but alive. Harin smiled at him. It worked. It worked. Though I would rather not do that again. Very stressful, Ji-woo stared at them. At the Empress and the human standing together. He had lost. Not just the battle. He had lost his understanding of the world. Take him away, Harin ordered. He will stand trial for treason. As guards dragged Ji-woo away, he looked back once. His face showed something new. Not just defeat, understanding. He finally saw what Harin had seen. Humans were not weak. They were different. And difference could be strength. Harin and Taehyun stood in the reactor chamber. Around them, the palace was in chaos. But they had won. That was terrifying, Harin said. Welcome to being human. We are terrified most of the time. We just keep going anyway, Harin laughed. It felt good. She was alive. She had faced real danger. She had trusted someone completely and not been betrayed. For 800 years, she had been safe, protected, isolated. Now she was vulnerable, connected, alive in a way she had forgotten was possible. Thank you, she said to Taehyun. For what? For showing me that power is not about dominance. It is about adaptation, about connection, about being willing to change, Taehyun smiled. That is the real human superpower. Not strength, not intelligence, just stubbornness. We refuse to give up. We refuse to stop changing. We refuse to accept that anything is impossible. Harin looked at him. This man who refused to kneel, who challenged her, who changed her, and she realized she did not want him to be anything other than what he was. The coup was over, but the real change was just beginning. The wedding day arrived. Billions across 12 star systems watched. The ceremony took place in the grand hall where crystal walls showed the cosmos beyond. Every noble in the empire attended. Many came to witness what they saw as a disaster. A few came out of curiosity. Taehyun walked down the long aisle. They had dressed him in formal robes of silver and blue. The clothes were beautiful, but they felt like a costume. He was not one of them. Everyone knew it. He knew it. Harin stood at the altar. She wore robes of pure white that seemed to glow with inner light. Her dark hair was arranged in an elaborate style. She looked like a goddess, untouchable, perfect, cold. The ceremony master began the ritual. He spoke words in an ancient language that Taehyun did not understand. But the translator device in his ear converted everything. The words were about submission, about serving, about recognizing the Empress as supreme. The master turned to Taehyun. Repeat after me. I kneel before the eternal Empress. Taehyun stood still. No, the master blinked. Excuse me? I will not say those words, we agreed. I do not kneel. Murmurs spread through the crowd. The master looked at Harin in panic. She could kill Taehyun right now, execute him in front of everyone for breaking the ritual. No one would question it, Harin smiled. Then what will you say, human? Taehyun looked at her. I stand beside Harin. I will face the future with her, not beneath her. I will honor her, but I will not worship her. I will be her partner, not her slave, the crowd gasped. Some nobles stood up in outrage. Commander Ji-woo's hand moved to his weapon. Lady Sujin closed her eyes as if in pain. Harin laughed. The sound echoed through the hall. Everyone froze. Good, she said. I accept these words. Let it be recorded. Taehyun of Earth stands beside me by choice, not by force. She looked at the crowd. If anyone objects, speak now. No one spoke. No one dared. The ceremony continued. When it ended, Harin and Taehyun were married. The crowd clapped politely, but many faces showed anger or confusion. This was not normal. This was not how things should be. That evening, Harin led Taehyun to the royal quarters. The rooms were enormous. Everything was made of crystal and precious metals. Lights floated in the air without visible support. Windows showed different worlds, somehow displaying places light years away in real time. Harin expected Taehyun to be overwhelmed. Instead, he walked around studying everything. He touched the floating lights. He examined the windows. He looked at the furniture. How does this work? He asked, pointing at a light. It simply does, Harin said. Our technology is beyond your understanding. Everything has an explanation. Is it magnetic levitation? No, there is no hum. Gravitational manipulation? Possible, but that would require massive power unless he moved closer to the light. There are no wires, no obvious power source. That means either wireless power transmission or a self-contained energy system. Given the size, probably the former. Harin stared at him. No one had ever questioned how the lights worked. They just accepted them as part of Veltharan superiority. But Taehyun treated them like puzzles to solve. Does it matter how they work? She asked. Of course it matters. Understanding how things work means you can improve them. Or fix them when they break. Or make your own. He moved to the window. This is impressive. Quantum entanglement for instant visual transmission? The bandwidth must be enormous. You are ruining the magic, Harin said, but she was smiling slightly. There is no magic. Only science we understand and science we do not understand yet. Taehyun turned to her. Your people built these things. That means they can be understood. They can be learned. Harin felt strange. She had always seen her civilization as special, gifted above others. But Taehyun saw it as simply further along. Not better, just different. 3 days later, a visitor arrived. Ambassador Kyung-soo of the Dracorian Consortium came to the palace. The Dracorians were rivals to the Veltharan Empire. They controlled 5 star systems of their own. They had always claimed they were superior to the Veltharans. Kyung-soo was tall and thin with scales instead of skin. His eyes were golden. He moved with confidence. Harin greeted him in the formal reception hall. Taehyun stood beside her, as promised. Kyung-soo bowed to Harin. Then he looked at Taehyun. So this is the human, the one everyone speaks of. I am Taehyun, a human. How quaint. Kyung-soo smiled coldly. Tell me, does it speak more than a few words? Or is it still learning language? Harin's eyes narrowed. Be careful, Ambassador. Forgive me, Empress. I mean no offense to you, but surely you understand my surprise. Humans are barely civilized. They have no telepathy, no long lives, no special abilities. They are livestock with delusions of importance. Taehyun stayed calm. Harin watched him carefully. She expected anger. Instead, he smiled. You are right, Taehyun said. We have no telepathy, no long lives, no natural gifts. We have only our minds and our hands. That is all. Kyung-soo laughed. You admit your inferiority. At least you are honest. I admit our differences. But inferior? That remains to be seen. I challenge you, Ambassador. The room went silent. Kyung-soo stopped smiling. What kind of challenge? A test of practical skill. We each build a device to solve a problem. We use only basic materials and tools. No telepathy to coordinate. No computers to calculate. Just our minds. If I win, you apologize to all humans. If you win, I will kneel to you and admit human inferiority. Harin wanted to stop this. It was too risky. But before she could speak, Kyung-soo laughed. Agreed, this will be amusing. Prepare the challenge. They set up the challenge in the palace courtyard. Cameras broadcasted across the empire. The task was clear. Each contestant received identical materials. Metal rods, rope, springs, weights, and basic tools. They had 3 hours to build a device that could move a heavy weight across a gap of 10 meters. Kyung-soo began immediately. His hands moved fast. His neural implants fed him calculations. He designed an elegant catapult using precise angles and tensions. Every measurement was perfect. The math was flawless. Taehyun worked slower. He built a rough catapult too, but it looked crude. He tested each part. When something did not work right, he adjusted it. He tried different approaches. He broke things and rebuilt them. The crowd laughed at Taehyun's clumsy attempts. Kyung-soo smiled confidently. Harin watched closely. She noticed something. Taehyun was learning as he went. Each failure taught him something new. Time ended. Kyung-soo's device looked beautiful. Perfect angles. Balanced tensions. A work of art. Taehyun's device looked rough and uneven, but he had added extra supports. Backup ropes. Multiple springs where Kyung-soo used one. I will go first, Kyung-soo said. He loaded the weight. He triggered the mechanism. The catapult launched beautifully. The weight flew through the air in a perfect arc. It was going to make it. Then the frame cracked. One of the rods had a flaw that Kyung-soo's calculations did not account for. The whole device collapsed. The weight fell short. Kyung-soo stared in shock. The crowd murmured. How could perfect calculations fail? Taehyun loaded his weight. His device was ugly, but it was strong. He had planned for failure. When he triggered it, the catapult launched. The weight sailed across the gap and landed safely on the other side. Silence. Then applause started. Not from everyone, but from enough people that it echoed. Taehyun turned to Kyung-soo. You relied on perfect calculations, but materials are never perfect. I built in redundancy. I expected failure and planned for it. That is what humans do. We adapt. Kyung-soo's face turned dark with anger, but he had lost. Everyone saw it. He bowed stiffly to Taehyun and left without another word. Harin walked to Taehyun. She looked at his rough, ugly, successful device. Then she looked at him. You did not win through superior gifts, she said quietly. You won through experience with failure. Yes. When you have no advantages, you learn to overcome disadvantages. You learn to adapt, to persist, to expect problems and solve them. Taehyun smiled. Maybe that is humanity's real power. We have failed so many times that we know how to handle failure. Harin realized something. Her people had been so powerful for so long that they forgot how to struggle. They forgot how to adapt. They solved problems with power, not cleverness. This human had just shown the entire empire a different kind of strength, one they had forgotten existed, and Harin wondered what else she had forgotten in her 800 years of power. Word of Taehyun's victory spread quickly. Across the 12 star systems, people talked about it. Some laughed. A human getting lucky, they said. Others were not so sure. The young especially began asking questions. If a human without enhancements could win, what did that mean? Harin gave Taehyun a position. He would advise on engineering and practical matters. Most people expected him to do nothing. It was a title without real power, a way to keep him occupied. But Taehyun took the role seriously. He began reviewing palace systems, energy distribution, water recycling, air circulation, systems that had run the same way for centuries. What he found shocked him. The systems worked, but they wasted enormous amounts of energy. The palace used enough power to run a small city on Earth. Not because it needed to, because no one had ever questioned it. Taehyun spent weeks making calculations. He drew diagrams. He tested his ideas on smaller systems first. Finally, he was ready. He presented his proposal to the Imperial Engineering Corps. Master Hyun led the corps. He was ancient, even by Veltheran standards. He had designed half the systems in the palace. When Taehyun suggested changes, Hyun's face turned cold. You think you know better than centuries of Veltharan engineering? Hyun asked. I think your engineering is brilliant, Taehyun said. But it was designed when energy was even more abundant than now. Times change. We can reduce power usage by 40% without losing any functionality. Impossible. Then let me prove it. Give me one section of the palace. If I fail, I will never speak of engineering again. Hyun wanted to refuse, but Harin was watching. She ordered them to let Taehyun try. If he failed, it would prove humans were inferior. If he succeeded, well, the empire would benefit. Taehyun worked for days. He reconfigured power flows. He added better regulation systems. He removed redundant processes. When he finished, he showed the results. The section used 42% less power. Everything worked perfectly. Lights, climate control, everything. Just more efficiently. Hyun stared at the readings. He checked them again and again. Finally, he looked at Taehyun. His pride was wounded, but he was honest. How did you see what we missed? You did not miss it. You built the system when energy was unlimited. Why worry about waste? But my people struggle for every resource. We think about efficiency because we must. Different circumstances teach different lessons. News of Taehyun's success spread through the technical community. Some engineers were angry. Others were intrigued. A few began looking at their own designs with new eyes. What else had they missed? Meanwhile, Harin found herself spending more time with Taehyun. At first, it was to monitor him, to understand him. But slowly, it became something else. They had dinner together every few days. Taehyun told her about Earth, about a world where people could not read each other's thoughts, where they had to learn to trust without knowing for certain what others were thinking. How do you know who to trust? Harin asked. We watch actions. Listen to words. We give trust slowly in small amounts. When someone proves trustworthy, we give more. When they betray us, we learn. That sounds inefficient. Maybe, but it makes trust meaningful. When you can read minds, trust is automatic. You know what people think. But we must choose to trust without knowing. That choice means something. Harin thought about this. She had never needed to trust anyone. She always knew their thoughts. She always knew their intentions. But that meant she had never truly connected with anyone. Never had a relationship built on choice rather than knowledge. With Taehyun, she had to actually listen, watch, learn. His mind was closed to her. She had to trust his words. And slowly she began to. One evening, Harin asked him a question. What do you miss most about Earth? Taehyun was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, my sister, Daeun. She was studying to be a doctor. She wanted to help people. I taught her to be curious, to ask questions. We were close. Is she still alive? I do not know. Your forces attacked the Mars colony. There was fighting. I was captured. I heard nothing after that. His voice was steady, but his eyes showed pain. Harin felt something unfamiliar. Guilt. She had ordered the Mars operation. She had approved his capture. She never thought about the people affected. They were just humans. Just statistics, but Daeun was not a statistic. She was a real person. A sister who lost her brother. A student whose dreams were interrupted. Harin had caused that pain. After Taehyun left that evening, Harin made a decision. She would find out what happened to Daeun. She sent agents to Earth. The report came back days later. Daeun was alive, but she was not a medical student anymore. After Taehyun's capture, she had joined a movement. Earth was in turmoil. The incident with Mars had awakened something in humanity. They were angry, frightened, determined. Daeun had become a leader. She spoke about human independence, about developing faster than light technology, about standing up to the Empire. The movement was growing. Humans were no longer content to be ignored. Harin stared at the reports. She had created this situation. By capturing one human, she had sparked a rebellion. Earth was small and weak now, but it was growing. Learning. Adapting. Just like Taehyun said, humans adapted. She could keep this information from Taehyun. He would never know. But Harin found she did not want to lie to him. She wanted to be honest. To build real trust. The question was how to tell him, and what to do about Earth. Meanwhile, Commander Jiwoo was planning. He had watched Taehyun's victories with growing anger. The human was making the Empire look weak. People were starting to question things, starting to wonder if Veltharan's superiority was real. Jiwoo met secretly with other commanders, with conservative nobles, with people who feared change. The Empress is compromised, he told them. She favors a human over her own people. She allows him to change our sacred systems. She laughs when he breaks our traditions. This must end. What do you propose? A noble asked. We remove her. Not permanently. Just until she sees reason. We force her to annul the marriage. Execute the human. Return to proper order. That is treason. It is salvation. We save the Empire from itself. Who is with me? One by one, they agreed. They would act soon. Before Taehyun could do more damage. Before Harin forgot who she was supposed to be, Lady Sujin heard rumors of the plot. She brought her concerns to Harin. Your Majesty, there is talk. Some of the military leadership. They are unhappy. Very unhappy. Let them be unhappy. I am the Empress. My Empress, I fear it is more serious than that. Commander Jiwoo has been meeting with others. In secret, Harin looked at Sujin. The advisor's thoughts were clear. Worry, fear, loyalty. Sujin believed the threat was real. What do you think I should do? Harin asked. Send Taehyun away. Annul the marriage. Show the conservatives that you still respect tradition. Remove their reason to rebel. No. My Empress, no. I will not bow to threats. If Jiwoo wants to challenge me, let him try. But I will not send Taehyun away to appease cowards. Sujin bowed. She left to prepare defenses. Harin sat alone in her throne room. She thought about everything that had changed. Weeks ago, she was bored, lonely, powerful, but empty. Now she felt alive, challenged, connected to someone for the first time in centuries. She would not give that up, not for Jiwoo, not for anyone. But she needed to tell Taehyun about his sister. About Earth. He deserved to know. And she wanted to be honest with him. She called for him. When he arrived, she showed him the reports. She watched his face as he read about Daeun, about the resistance movement, about Earth's awakening. Taehyun's hands shook slightly. Relief. pride, worry, all mixed together. She is alive, he said softly, and she is fighting. Yes, your capture started something. Earth is changing. They will become a problem for the Empire eventually. Taehyun looked at her. Are you asking me to stop them? No, I am telling you the truth. I want you to know what is happening. Even if it complicates things. Why? Harin hesitated. Then she said something she had never said to anyone. Because I want to trust you. Really trust you. Not because I can read your thoughts, but because I choose to. And that means being honest, even when it is hard. Taehyun stared at her. For the first time, he saw past the Empress. He saw Harin, a person who had been alone for 800 years, who was trying awkwardly to connect with someone. Thank you, he said, for telling me, for trusting me. They stood together in silence, both aware that storm clouds were gathering. Jiwoo was planning something. Earth was rising. Everything was about to change, but for this moment they had each other. And that would have to be enough. 3 days after the failed coup, Harin stood before the Imperial Council. Every noble and leader in the Empire watched, some through screens from distant worlds, others in person filling the Great Chamber. They expected punishment, executions, a show of force to remind everyone who ruled. Instead, Harin talked about change. We face a choice, she said. We can continue as we have for millennia, powerful, unchanging, slowly becoming irrelevant. Or we can evolve. Murmurs filled the chamber. Evolve? The Veltharan Empire was already the most advanced civilization in known space. What more could they become? Commander Jiwoo tried to kill me because I married a human. He believed it showed weakness. But he failed not because I am stronger than him. He failed because he could not adapt when I took away his technology. That is the lesson. Harin looked across the faces watching her, some angry, some confused. A few beginning to understand we have become dependent on our telepathy, our technology, our long lives. These are gifts, but they have made us forget how to struggle, how to innovate, how to grow. Species without our advantages have developed different strengths. We need to learn from them, a noble stood. Your Majesty, you speak of weakness as if it were strength. Humans are inferior. Everyone knows this, are they? A human designed the energy system that saved us 40% power. A human strategy defeated a military coup. A human refuses to kneel even when faced with death. Perhaps we have been measuring strength incorrectly. Taehyun stood beside Harin. He had insisted on being there, though many objected. He said nothing. Just stood, a symbol of what Harin was proposing. I announced 3 reforms, Harin continued. First, Earth will be granted provisional status within the Empire. Humans will have representatives here. They will have protection and rights. Gasps. Shouts. Harin raised her hand for silence. Second, we will create an Imperial Academy. All species will be invited to study together, to share knowledge, to learn from each other. More protests. Lady Sujin stepped forward to calm the crowd. Third, we will study what I call compensatory innovation, the technologies and methods that species develop when they lack natural advantages. This may be our greatest opportunity for growth in centuries. A conservative faction leader stood. Your Majesty, this is madness. You ask us to learn from primitives, to elevate lesser beings. The Empire will collapse. Lady Sujin spoke then. She had spent days thinking about this moment. Perhaps we try an experiment. Implement these reforms for 1 century. If the Empire weakens, we reverse them. If we strengthen, we continue. Is that not reasonable? The compromise pleased some. Others still objected. But Harin was the Empress. Her word was law. The reforms would proceed. After the council meeting, Harin and Taehyun walked through the palace gardens. It was the first quiet moment they had shared since the coup. You have your freedom now, Harin said. Earth has status. You can go home if you wish. I will not stop you. Taehyun was quiet for a long time. He looked at the alien plants around them, at the distant stars visible through the atmospheric shield. At Harin, I could go home, he said finally. Si Daun. Help guide Earth through what comes next. That would be the logical choice, but I think I can do more good here. I can be a bridge. Help the Empire understand humanity. Help humanity understand the Empire. If I leave now, everything we started might fall apart. Harin felt relief. She had not wanted to admit how much his leaving would hurt. So you will stay? On one condition. I want to establish an exchange program. Young humans come here to learn. Young Veltharans go to Earth. Real understanding comes from shared experience, not just treaties. Harin smiled. I was going to suggest the same thing. We think alike now. Maybe you are becoming a little bit human, and I am becoming a little bit Veltharan. Is that so bad? No, it is exactly what should happen. Months passed. The Imperial Academy opened. 20 species sent students. The first class included 3 humans. One of them was Dayun. She arrived on a human transport ship. Earth had developed its own FTL drive, slower and less elegant than Veltharan ships, but it worked. Another example of human innovation. Taehyun met her at the landing pad. They embraced. Dayun had tears in her eyes. I never thought I would see you again, she said. I never thought I would see you here, on Velthos Prime, as a student, not a prisoner. Things have changed so much. On Earth, they call you a hero, the human who changed an empire. I am not a hero. I just refuse to give up. And I found someone willing to listen. The graduation ceremony came at the end of the first year. Students from 20 species stood together. They had learned each other's languages, studied each other's histories, shared each other's foods and customs. Harin gave the opening speech. She talked about how knowledge grows when different perspectives meet, how strength comes from diversity, not uniformity. Then Taehyun spoke. He was nervous. Speaking to thousands of people across the galaxy was intimidating, but he had a message he wanted to share. When I first came here, I was a prisoner. I had no power, no status, no respect. The logical thing would have been to surrender, to accept my place. But I could not do that. The crowd listened. Even those who still doubted the reforms were curious about this human who had changed so much. I refused to kneel, not out of disrespect, but out of self-respect. I knew humans had value, even if others did not see it. And I was lucky. I found someone who was willing to question her own assumptions, someone who chose to see possibility instead of just power. He looked at Harin. She sat in the front row watching him with a slight smile. True power is not about domination. It is not about having the strongest weapons or the longest lives. True power is adaptation. It is learning. It is being willing to change when you meet something new. That is what humans do. That is what the Empire is learning to do. The students applauded. Not just the humans. All of them. They had lived together for a year. They had learned that different did not mean inferior. It just meant different. After the ceremony, Harin and Taehyun stood together on a balcony overlooking the capital city. Ships from 20 worlds filled the sky. Students of different species walked the streets together, talking and laughing. It is working, Harin said softly. The experiment is working. Did you doubt it would? Every day. I have ruled for 800 years with certainty. Now I rule with hope. It is terrifying. Taehyun took her hand. A simple gesture. Humans did it all the time. But for Harin it was revolutionary. Touch without reading thoughts. Connection without telepathy. Trust without certainty. You asked me once what being human was like, he said. This is it. Being terrified but moving forward anyway. Not knowing if things will work out. Hoping they will. Trying even when success is not guaranteed. Harin squeezed his hand. I think I understand now. I have been powerful for so long. But power without vulnerability is just isolation. You showed me that. And you showed me that some people are worth trusting, worth believing in, worth changing for. They stood together in silence. 2 beings from different worlds, different species, different perspectives, but connected now in a way that transcended all those differences. Below them, the city buzzed with activity. The Empire was changing, not collapsing as the conservatives feared, growing, learning, becoming something new. What stunned me most, Harin said quietly, was not that you could resist my telepathy. It was that you made me want to be better. Not more powerful, better. That is a kind of power I never understood before. The power to inspire change, the power to open yourself to being changed, to admit you do not have all the answers, to learn from someone you once considered beneath you. That takes more strength than ruling an empire. Taehyun smiled. Then we both learned something. You learned to be vulnerable. I learned that not everyone who has power will abuse it, that some people will listen if you speak truth. What do you think will happen next? With Earth and the Empire? I do not know, but I think we have a chance now. A real chance for peace. For cooperation, not because one side dominated the other, but because we chose to understand each other. Haran looked at the stars above. So many worlds, so many species, so much potential if they could just learn to work together. I was lonely for 800 years, she said. I did not even know it. I thought power meant standing above everyone else. But real power is standing beside someone as an equal, learning from them, growing with them. That is the human way. We have no choice but to work together. We are too weak alone, so we learned cooperation, partnership, trust. Not because we wanted to, but because we had to. And it made us stronger, Haran nodded. Perhaps that is the real lesson. Strength does not come from being superior. It comes from being willing to grow, to change, to admit weakness and overcome it together. Far below, Dawoon walked with other students. She looked up at the palace and saw her brother standing with the Empress. She smiled.
He had done the impossible.
He had changed an empire by refusing to surrender who he was. And maybe that was the greatest power of all. Not the power to conquer or control, but the power to remain yourself, to hold on to your values, to refuse to kneel even to a goddess. Because when you stood tall, others might stand with you. And together you could change the galaxy.